Pregame.com.
Jets -6.5 at Denver, and Tim Tebow's hometown Thursday night football. Guess maybe it's going to be the house of Tebow bill. All right, let's get straight into the Tebow factor, okay? Because we always preach that we don't want to overreact. But I got to tell you, I've seen a lot of handicappers I really respect that really overreacted after Tebow's second start when they got blown out. Mm-hmm. And actually, I was reading some stuff you do. We do a little extra work for the Broncos blog. It's called Mile High Report. If you have any interest in the Broncos, check that out. You were saying, not an NFL quarterback, this is ludicrous, blah, blah, blah. And then you look at the stats, the win-loss results, and what you're seeing is like they're 4-14 without Tebow and 4-2 with them, or some variation of that. What is your take right now on Tim Tebow?
He's still not an NFL quarterback. Actually, in those blogs, the only one that I missed is as far as the projection.
So is Orton an NFL quarterback?
He is.
So why are they winning more with Tebow?
There's a mystique about him, and you got to look at the teams they've been playing and what's happened, too.
Wait a minute. Luckily, we're in Vegas.
Okay.
Right? You can tell, look. We're in Vegas, and there's something called a point spread, which measures expectation. Mm-hmm. If a team exceeds expectation, they win against the spread, and you win money if you bet them. Now, if the Broncos are 7.5-point underdogs against the Raiders and they win the game, well, the whole Carson Palmer, all the other factors that you could bring in, they're built into that line. So unless you have a Brinks truck of money from betting the Broncos on the money line, you didn't expect that.
Well, actually, I did expect them to cover that one in that blog.
Did you bet them on the money line?
I didn't bet them on the money line,
Well,
no.
so what I'm saying is they're exceeding expectations.
They are doing that.
So how are you as a handicapper dealing with that?
Again, I look at the matchup and look at who they're playing and what I expect how the game's going to unfold. Fortunately for Tebow, in the 4 games that he's played, there's only been one game where they fell behind bad, and then you had to abandon the run, and that's the game that he had 3 turnovers in. The other 3 games, they've only had one turnover.
Well, but you're flipping the premise of your conversation. You're saying in one game only they were behind. They were behind by 14 in the Raiders game.
They were behind, but then Carson Palmer coughed up some interceptions that got them back in the game, and once they got back in the game, they were able to go back to the running.
So you're saying that the Broncos are in big trouble if they get behind by 14 or greater and the other team doesn't make any mistakes. Well, yeah, I think most teams are in trouble in that spot. But if you fall behind 14 and still come back, but in a way, I'm not trying to convince you. I'm trying to understand. So right now, how have you, I know you're not a power rankings guy, but you have a sense of, is this team better than I thought, worse than I thought? Right now, if Orton started, if it was announced a week ago, so they had proper prep time, Tebow's hurt, Orton's going to start, do you like Denver more or less in this game?
In this game?
Yeah.
I would probably like Denver more with Orton.
So you still think Orton's the better quarterback?
I do.
Or the better performer for the Broncos?
And I'll preface that by saying that whenever you're preparing to play them with the 2 different quarterbacks, you're total different game plan.
Yeah.
You're going to have to, he's going to keep you honest because he is going to pass the ball more than 8 times in a game. I mean, what we saw last week, RJ, that's uncharted water. When have you seen an NFL game in the modern era?
And I read some analysis that said that it didn't feel like that Kansas City had any chance to win the game. That though the score wasn't a blowout, that for those watching the game, I didn't watch the game, is Denver controlled it. So uncharted or not, now if Belichick was the coach, you'd be like, he's a genius. He knows his personnel. You know, he was there back with Army in '59, and he knew how to run the veer. I mean, at what point are we going to give this team some credit?
There is whatever you want to call it, whether Tebow's got, moxie or just an aura about him, the guy does find a way to win. You've got to give him that. And if the game is close.
Can I ask you a question? and I'm not trying to embarrass you. Why do you have a picture of Tebow in your office?
I don't know.
With the short,
No,
the sleeveless shirt.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's definitely what I got hanging in my office. But, I mean, if you go back a couple of weeks ago when Steven Over and I did our rants of the week, the 1 week that when he did beat Miami, I was like, I just went off on Tebow. I don't like him as a quarterback.
If he keeps winning, are you gonna delete that video?
I probably have to. I'll have to eat crow. And,
All right. So
maybe I'll buy a Tebow shirt and wear it for a podcast 1 week.
Just make sure it has sleeves. But listen,
you don't want me putting these guns out.
All right. But here's the thing. In a way, honest disagreement. The only way you can win at sports betting, the only way you can win at investing, is to have a contrary opinion that's correct.
Right.
If you think Tom Brady's a great quarterback, then that's easy. Everyone else does too. There's nothing to be gained from that.
Right.
You're saying, now right now, I think it's gone from 80-20, Tebow being a detriment to by most people's opinion, it was 80% he's a negative, to I'm not sure if it's 50-50 now, but you're hearing a lot of, I don't know what he's doing, but he's doing something. Right. But you, for the record, flash the date up, Dustin. For the record, you are still negative Tebow.
I am still negative Tebow, in considering that actually on podcast and in blogs that I've done the last 2 weeks, I've actually picked the Broncos to cover the spread the last 2 weeks, but I still don't like Tebow.
Okay.
But I like the situations that he was in the last 2 weeks.
Let's talk situations, because that's one of your strongest suits, is in a way, your understanding of emotion serves you with both of your approaches to handicapping. One is motivational, that's emotion, and the other is the emotion of the bettor, where you find trap games and you know when they're going to get trapped. So on the side of motivation as an emotion is, I personally think the Jets are not going to be as motivated as people think here. I think there's a sense that they've got to bounce back. But I think people are losing sight of this whole Rex Ryan and the way he goes about things, the Super Bowl or bust. When they woke up Monday morning, it was the odds of them winning the division are
they're gone.
Small. They're going to be back on the road, which means 3 road games to get to the Super Bowl. And this was Super Bowl or bust for this team. You have the famous Dream Crusher theory. Is this a Dream Crusher situation?
It's definitely a horrible spot for the Jets off of the Sunday night game against New England and coming back with a short week.
You make a good point. Sunday night game. That game. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's always a detriment to play on the road on a Thursday night. But now they played the latest that they possibly could play, playing Sunday night. So, you get up, you're tired the next morning. They got to prepare on a short week, and they got to travel from the East to Denver for this Thursday game.
And they got to prepare against a quirky offense. Now, this is a concept that we bring up oftentimes in the bowl season, is that if it's an option team or whatever versus, you have the whole bowl season to prepare versus week 3 and then out of, because if you're in conference, it's different. You usually play that team every year. I can't imagine there's a team in the NFL in the last 10 years that would be harder to prepare for in a short week than Denver right now with this new, wishbone, running attack option, whatever it's being called at this point. Do you agree with that?
It's definitely a disadvantage for the Jets, but on the same token, I think one of the advantages that the Jets will have in this game is that maybe some of these first teams that played Tebow, and especially after that Detroit game, kind of took them a little bit for granted because he looked so horrible in the Miami game. They were lucky to come back. And then, he was atrocious in the Detroit game. Maybe look past them a little bit. The Jets can't afford that. They should be 100% focused. I know they have what you said that, the division's gone for them. They're looking wild card. And the problem with the wild card, they can't afford another loss because they're battling with Cincinnati, Baltimore, Pittsburgh, because whoever doesn't win the division between Baltimore and Pittsburgh is going to end up probably being the number 1 wild card seed. So, they can't afford any more mistakes, that's for sure.
Let's talk about the Thursday night home field advantage. We're going to be talking about this every Thursday. You go back 20 plus years, back to 1998. Thursday teams at home are over 58% blind. Okay, and that's over 100 games. I think people always underestimate, we say this every week, that if you change someone's routine, that are so regimented like NFL teams are, it's a big. They talk about the big disadvantage of being off a Monday night. That's 1 day difference. Thursday to Friday to Saturday, Sunday. This is 3 days different. So to me, that I gotta look home team or pass every Thursday, unless the team had a bye before, which I'm not sure if there's any of that. I don't think there is.
The one caveat to that, though, which was the case last week with Oakland and San Diego, is the one thing that made it a little bit easier for the road team is because it was a division game and you have that.
You're more familiar, but man, my gut is that's 20% of it. But 20% is meaningful. Maybe you think it's more. Only thing keeping me from really liking Denver here is Denver's home field. They're 7-19 ATS at home. So the old Mile High and the altitude, and in the Vegas rankings, and we launched that at ESPN. It's been getting a great response. You can check these out at vegasrankings.com, and that will send you to the pregame version of it. Or if you have ESPN Insider, it's up there. And 2.5 points right now is what our experts rank the point value of the Denver home field. So this is a team that I think the public is values a little more highly for home field. That causes me a little pause. And one other thing from Vegas rankings, we have something called a better bias, which is these are the irrational reasons that people bet certain teams because they love Notre Dame or they love the Cowboys. So usually it's how marquee a team is. Sometimes it's geographic, like San Diego, how close it is to Las Vegas.
Right.
Actually, right now, the Vegas rankings has the Broncos with a 0.5 point better bias positive. Is that the Tebow factor?
There's no question about that.
At 7.5, I love this. At 6.5, I have a strong lean. I'm going to project the Jets to win 20-17. That's a strong lean to the home dog. Any closing thoughts?
Now, my only concern on Denver in this particular game is that during that 4-game winning streak, the best team they played was Detroit. And where do you compare Detroit and the Jets if you put them on a neutral field?
I don't. Personally, I go to Vegas rankings for such things. but the Jets, if I just from memory, are 8th right now, and I think Detroit is 15th or 16th. So they consider there to be a major difference.
And if Tebow can pull it off this week, I might go buy the Tebow shirt, but he's got to pull it off against a good team.
But the Jets or Detroit was -3 in that game at Denver, and here we're -3.5 or 6.5. So there's a 3.5 point difference.
And this game did open at 5, so it's gotten money on the Jets, to get it up to 6.5. So we'll see what happens. Right now I'm on the fence on the game, but Tebow, we'll see.
All right, guys. Every Thursday at pregame.com, we do probably our most popular thing when it comes to the premium picks is we have a $1 best bet. It's the hottest capper. We wait until Wednesday to choose who the capper is. And you get his very best bet that day for $1. This is kind of a thank you for those who support us through the picks and also a way for you to dip your toe in the water and kind of check out how these premium picks can help you enjoy your sports betting and hopefully win more money. So check that out on Thursday. Do we know who our capper is?
It's actually going to be me this week heading into, we're taping on Wednesday, so I do have a play in action tonight, but I've hit 4 of my last 5 best bets in football, and we're going to give one away tomorrow.
Well, you've been hot for a while. You had your games of the year that fell a little short.
We got it back on track the last 2 weeks with our big games. So
when you have a tough loss, do you find the next day that you're spending a lot of time eating chicken wings and stuff, or do you buckle down?
I always eat chicken wings. It doesn't matter.
Win or lose.
If I win, I'm eating a lot more. If I'm losing, I'm a little upset. And
so you're not much for comfort food,
I just
like a coma, just to forget it all.
No.
All right, guys, and remember, all of our videos every week are at pregamevideos.com in one form thread where the entire conversation about all the videos happens. Talk to you there.